Hello, welcome to the West Ham Way YouTube. Myself, Mark Carlaw, and Riley Finch. Riley, Jarrod Bowen, he really isn't in good form at the moment this season, and it's kind of getting to a stage now. We've spoken about it a couple of times before on previous videos where, is he should he be being dropped? And I kind of understand why Moyes is sticking by him because really he has been for me, and I'm sure you'll agree he's kind of been one of those consistently good players for us. And the moment he started playing for West Ham, I don't recall him really ever having a bad game. But when he first started, he always looked very, very good and worked so hard. And and when we did our season predictions, we both said he was going to be our sort of top scorer. I could see this season, and being a real threat. And he's just been so poor. He seems to have lost a lot of confidence. And I know form does dip occasionally, but do you think he should be being dropped now?
I think he's got to be dropped, mate. I think one thing you need to have in football is accountability. You need to have consistency. And I think the way Moyes talks about players like Ben Rama, like Fornals, like Cornet, Skamaka, and the way he talks about players like Bowen, I mean, there's a sense to say you kind of earned that in a little bit. He's kind of earned the right to be a little bit more every now and then and not get dropped. But I just think you've got to be consistent. I mean, what are Fornals and Ben Rama and Cornet thinking? I'm working my socks off every week. I'm playing better than this guy and he's getting in the team every single week. And every time the manager talks about me, he says, oh, he's done, even Flynn Downs, he was like, yeah, he's good, but he needs to improve. And then with Bowen, he just, he's been a bit unlucky. I mean, it's a weird way. He seems way too protected. And, he will come good for us and his form will go back up again. I mean, if you remember last season, Fornals and Ben Rama were firing off all cylinders and Bowen was very, very quiet. And in the second half of the season, he just came alive, so maybe he just needs a couple extra games to get bedded in. But right now, what's best for the team, he has to start playing. He has to start getting dropped, sorry. And, and he can easily rekindle his form in Europe. But I just think in Premier League, he's got to be dropped.
I actually agree. I don't think it'd be a bad thing for him either. I think sometimes it helps a player to sort of have a bit of a rest, and I think it might give him a bit of time to reflect a little bit and sort of get his form back up. We talked about Souček being in that same bracket as well, and I think already actually having Flynn Downs possibly is helping Souček, having a little bit of competition there. I do think it makes a difference. The only thing as well that's quite interesting is obviously Bowen's just been called up to the England squad, which I've got to say I was actually really surprised about. I didn't think he would. I don't know whether he's really earned it this season. I don't know. Just being honest.
When you got Sancho and Rashford, mate, I mean, you'd be disappointed if you were them two, wouldn't you? I mean, Bowen getting ahead, six games, 0 goals, 0 assists. It's not all about that, but I mean, yeah, I was very surprised to see him in the squad. But obviously, Southgate, just like Moyes, has a lot of trust in him.
He does, yeah, and also he came on, didn't he, on Thursday night, Bowen, and he actually gave away the goal, or gave away possession for when
I don't know what he was
scored.
doing.
It was really bad play. I just don't know what's quite going on with him at the moment. It's really, and I appreciate he's just dipping form. It does happen, but he's really dropped, isn't it? It's not even like slightly out of form. He doesn't really look slightly the same player, which is quite worrying, really, because I wonder if there's more to it than just that. Is there something? Has he been distracted? Has he seen interest elsewhere? I don't know. I really hope not. I'd like to think that's not the case, but he certainly needs a kick up the arse and definitely needs a bit of a wake up call because we need players like him firing. It's not helping the fact that we've got players that are trying to gel into the squad. They've only just moved to this country. They're trying to settle in. You need your big players like the Rices and your Bowens and players that have consistently been so good for us to be playing well. And the fact that Bowen's just not playing well at all, so frustrating. That being said, do you think he'll start against Everton on Sunday?
I think he will. I mean, it's unrealistic to say that he wouldn't. I think it depends. When you're a player like Bowen, you know what you can do. And having a player on the pitch for 90 minutes that can produce the sort of things he can, sometimes it's worth the risk to just kind of start him and see what sort of mood he's in.
Yes.
But I just think, not even just talking from a results sort of end of things. I just think as a team, seeing someone like Bowen play week in, week out, it's just not right. I think if you're playing that bad, and like you say, it's not like he's not scoring or he is unlucky. It's not like he's been hitting the post or like, shooting and not, just getting wide of the mark or anything like that. He's not even playing well at all. I mean, like you say, for that goal on Thursday, I mean, I don't know what he was doing. He looks such a different player, and I don't want to use the word purple patch, and I don't think it is, but you start to get those question marks, and for me, I don't know, he should be dropped, but I think Moyes he's so protected by Moyes, I don't think he will be, and
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Well, I
weird
think
one.
I'm guessing Moyes because like you just said, I think he knows what Bowen possesses. He knows how good he can be. So, and let's be honest, he can be lethal and such a good strike. And one of the best finishers we've got at the club. I mean, he's
Mm,
certainly better than Antonio when he comes in front of goal. I mean, I trust, that's what I've liked about him for so long. It's like he's just so consistently good in front of when he always takes his chances. And he works so hard, so it's so strange to see him off the ball that we are seeing at the moment. Yeah, it's really, really frustrating. But I'm with you. I actually think he should be dropped now. If I was Everton, I'd like to see, like you've said previously, mate, that Cornet would go in ahead of him. I think it actually do him the world of good. I really do. I don't think necessarily it's a bad thing for a player to get dropped. I think sometimes, if I was a manager, I'd say, look, it just gives you a bit of a break, a bit of a rest. You can then start having, and you can start working on your game and realise that you actually need to sort of step up a little bit because
mm.
it sends the wrong message, doesn't it? If you're playing poorly and then you continue being picked, and having now bloody Southgate picking you, he's probably thinking, well, I must be playing all right.
Yeah,
I'm not doing something right, and it's probably not helping the situation. He needs to realise that actually, to be playing at West Ham, you've got to be a top, consistently very good. I recently put up a post actually with David Moyes. He did an interview, I think, in the Independent, and he was saying about the signings we've made and this quality and depth he's got the squad now. And his actual line was, if you're not playing well, you're not going to be in the team. That's as simple as that, because now we've got
mm.
so much competition. Well, he needs to sort of um, sort of live by that rule then, doesn't he, Moyes? I think he needs to sort of realise and, be honest and say to Jarrod and to the likes of Thomas Souček, you've not been good enough. You need to come out of the squad and we're going to players are ahead of you. It's going to be interesting to see if he's picked. I'm guessing he will be, but I
Yeah.
don't think it's far away now in being dropped. He needs to wake up and start. We need to see the Jarrod Bowen of the last sort of 2 or 3 seasons, definitely.
Yeah, and like you say, it does do a world of good. And players like Antonio just reach that sort of extra little level because they know that you got someone like Skamaka nipping at his heels. I mean, you can imagine, scores a great goal in Europe, and then Antonio
Mm.
potentially has a bad result on Sunday. If he doesn't play very well, assuming he starts,
Yeah.
that's a lot of pressure on a player. So that fires you to go that extra minute, to put that extra sprint in. And
Mm.
I think right now Bowen doesn't actually realise he has competition because he would feel untouchable, wouldn't you? I mean, you're so consistent for us. One of the first
Mm.
names on the team sheet for a while. As soon as someone like Cornet starts ahead of you in the Premier League, you start thinking to yourself, hold on, maybe I do need
Yeah.
to sort of get myself in gear a little bit. I don't think players are that
Absolutely.
naive to where are going to genuinely sit there and say, oh, I'm undroppable, he's never going to not drop me. Like they
Mm.
do train hard, but even subconsciously, you just at the back of your mind, you just have that little voice saying, I need to train just that little bit harder, or,
Yes.
maybe take that extra shot on, or I don't know. I do think it'll do you well to good. And, it doesn't mean if Cornet starts one game that Bowen's out for the rest of the season. You know what I mean? And he's
Absolutely.
played a lot. He's played a lot of minutes. He might just need a rest, to be honest. He
Yeah.
works very hard.
You're right. I think that's the other point, isn't it? He's been playing a lot of football. He's been playing obviously international football. He really hasn't had much of a break, and that's probably not helped matters. I actually genuinely think it would do him the well of good. I mean, we've seen it with Antonio, like you've just said. I don't think not even having Skamaka so much putting pressure on him to perform, but also I think he just maybe releases a bit of pressure on takes it off your shoulders rather than thinking, I mean, maybe Bowen's a bit under pressure with this role. Like he's continually asked to play on that right side. Always have it. There's no one else going to be playing him. He's we're asking a lot of him. You're playing every week. You've got to be scoring goals, and maybe maybe a little bit of a breather could help him. Certainly, something needs to change, and I really hope it does for him because we need him. Firing. Especially where we are in the season, we need our big performers. Coming up with these performances again, and Jarrod Bowen is one of those. Yeah, I'd really like to see him go back to form. Be interested to see what happens then with David Moyes, wasn't it? And in terms of who he's going to pick this Sunday, whether he will go with Cornet or he's going to stick with his
Mm.
trust in Bowen. I don't know because that's going to end soon if he carries on. I think Bowen's on thin ice now. He's going to have to be. If Moyes is being honest to himself, he has to be realistic and say that Bowen has been really poor this season. And we're 6 games in. It's not like 1 or 2 games. It's talking a
Mm.
fair crack of the season that's gone, and I haven't seen one decent performance out of him yet.
No, I do think he needs to get back to his form. I think we've already said it. Europe could be a platform for these players to rekindle their form. I think
Mm.
drop him in the Premier League, start him getting some confidence up in Europe again. I mean, when he took the penalty, he great finish and he looked
Yeah.
in all the worlds of confidence. But we haven't seen that from him. I mean, it was an interesting reaction, wasn't it, when he scored that first goal of the season in Europe and he did the kind of the talking thing, but he must be aware that he's getting a lot of criticism. So
Yes.
you know, I do wonder how he's going to react with that. I mean, he's still a youngish player, and he'll definitely come good this season. I mean, you know, he scores a goal this weekend. We're all talking about how Jarrod Bowen's back, so
I
you know,
know.
be interesting to
I better
see,
get this
mate.
video out fast.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, it's I mean, like, we all want to see him back to form, and you know, we're certainly not digging him out, and in terms of trying to be negative and create any negative, vibe around Jarrod Bowen. He's loved at this football club. We certainly don't want to go anywhere, but I just think, yeah, it's been a frustrating start for him, and I think he needs it. I think he needs a rest. I think he needs to be dropped from the side. And like you say, if Cornet comes in, does a good job, Bowen could be playing in the European games and just say, let's give you the opportunity to get back in the squad. And it's not a bad problem for us to have. I just think that, yeah, we're sticking with by a player here that he's not playing well. And even when he was then rested on Thursday to come on, and then he's made that terrible mistake, you're kind of thinking it's so out of character for him. So, yeah, I'm with you, mate. I actually would think it would do him the world of good. I'd like to see him get dropped. But obviously, it's David Moyes at the end of the day, isn't it? And he does like to stay loyal to a lot of his players.
yeah, totally agree, mate.
Thanks for watching, everyone. Cheers.